Before you try to fix your life, pause and look carefully at where your attention has been going. Because the deepest problem may not be that you lack talent, opportunity, discipline, or support. The deepest problem may be that your mind no longer belongs to you. You wake up in the morning, but before you return to yourself, you return to the world. You reach for your phone before you reach for your breath. You look at other people before you look at your own direction. You absorb their lives, their opinions, their success, their noise, their judgment, and then you wonder why your spirit feels heavy before the day has even begun. You have not even asked yourself what kind of person you must become today. Yet you have already allowed strangers, memories, messages, and comparisons to decide the first emotion of your morning. This is how attention is stolen. Not always through one great disaster, but through 1,000 small permissions. One notification, one command, one old wound, one person who misunderstood you, one image that made you feel behind, one memory that pulled you backward, one conversation that reopened what should have remained closed. Slowly, quietly, piece by piece, your attention leaves your body, leaves your purpose, leaves your path, and begins living in places that cannot build your future. Then you say you are tired. You say you feel lost. You say you do not know why nothing is falling into place. But be honest with yourself. How can your life move forward when your mind is being pulled in 10 directions at once? How can you hear the call of your future when your inner world is crowded with the noise of the past? How can you build something strong when you keep handing the key to your peace to people who never earned the right to hold it? You keep explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You keep proving your heart to people who are not interested in seeing it clearly. You keep defending your dream in rooms where no one respects the seat. You keep trying to win conversations that do not feed your soul. You keep chasing approval from people who have not even approved of themselves. And while you are doing all of this, your real life is waiting. Your work is waiting. Your body is waiting. Your discipline is waiting. Your peace is waiting. Your future is waiting for the energy you keep spending on things that do not deserve it. This is a very expensive way to live. Many people pay this price every day and call it effort. They believe they are fighting for their value, but in truth, they are dragging their value into a place too small to recognize it. A powerful person does not place the center of their life inside the eyes of other people. A person who is truly growing does not wake up every day asking who is watching, who is approving, who is doubting, who is clapping, who is silent. They ask a different question. Am I watching myself? Am I keeping the promise I made to myself? Am I protecting my time? Am I training my mind? Am I walking the path I said mattered to me? This is the difference between a person whose attention has been stolen and a person who has begun to take it back. The distracted person lives like a leaf in the wind. Praise lifts them. Criticism breaks them. Silence makes them anxious. Rejection defines them. Misunderstanding makes them desperate to explain. But the person who has returned to themselves begins to live like a tree. They still feel the wind, but they do not worship it. They still feel pain, but they do not let pain become the driver. They still see others moving ahead, but they do not use another person's journey to curse their own. They understand that attention is the bloodline of destiny. Wherever your attention goes, your life begins to grow. If your attention lives in drama, your life will become chaotic. If your attention lives in comparison, your heart will always feel poor. If your attention lives in the past, your future will keep kneeling before what is already dead. But when your attention returns to your breath, your body, your habits, your work, your choices, and your discipline, your life begins to regain order. You do not need to fix everything at once. You only need to take back the first thing that was stolen, your attention, because when attention returns, energy returns. When energy returns, discipline has a place to stand. When discipline has a place to stand, the old self begins to lose authority. And from that moment, you no longer live as someone dragged by the world. You begin to live as someone returning to the center. And when a person returns to the center, the next step is not to speak louder. The next step is to become silent. And when a person returns to the center, the next step is not to speak louder. The next step is to become silent. But you must understand silence correctly, because most people misunderstand it. They think silence means weakness. They think silence means you have nothing to defend, nothing to prove, nothing left inside you. But real silence is not emptiness. Real silence is containment. It is power that has stopped leaking. It is fire that has learned not to burn everything it touches. It is the moment you stop throwing your energy into every room that calls your name. And you begin to keep that energy for the work that is calling your soul. A weak person is often noisy, because noise can hide confusion. Noise can hide insecurity. Noise can hide the hunger to be seen. But a person who has begun to master themselves does not need to fill every space with explanation. They do not need to answer every insult. They do not need to correct every misunderstanding. They do not need to open their wounds in front of people who only came to study the blood. They understand that not every dream deserves an audience. Not every plan deserves a witness. Not every pain deserves a public performance. Some things must be protected in silence until they are strong enough to stand in the wind. The sea does not argue with the soil. The mountain does not explain its height. The river does not beg anyone to believe that it is moving. It simply moves day after day, quietly, patiently, faithfully. And because it keeps moving, one day it cuts through stone. This is the discipline of silence. You stop announcing your growth before your roots are deep. You stop showing people the foundation before the structure can carry weight. You stop handing your vision to those who have no discipline to understand it. Many people destroy their future because they expose it too early. They speak while the dream is still fragile. They explain while the wound is still open. They announce while the habit is still weak. Then doubt enters, jealousy enters, criticism enters, distraction enters, and they wonder why the fire goes out. But you opened the door. You allow too many untrained voices to touch what should have been sacred. Silence is the door closing, not from hatred, not from pride, not from bitterness, from protection. Your mind is a temple. Your future is a temple. If you allow every opinion, every reaction, every memory, every drama to enter without permission. Do not be surprised when the place inside you no longer feels clean. Silence is how you begin to clean it. Silence says, I will not explain my healing to those who benefited from my brokenness. Silence says, I will not trade my peace for the satisfaction of the last word. Silence says, I will not turn my life into a courtroom where every stranger becomes a judge. This is strength. Strength is not always raising your voice. Sometimes strength is lowering your reaction. Strength is not always fighting back. Sometimes strength is refusing battles that make you smaller. When you stay silent, some people will feel uncomfortable. They were used to your explanations. They were used to your availability. They were used to pulling a reaction from you. When that access ends, they may call you cold. They may call you distant. They may call you arrogant. Let them. A door does not apologize for closing when the room needs protection. Your silence will reveal who respects your boundary and who only respected your openness. It will reveal who supports your growth and who only enjoyed your confusion. This is why silence is not passive. Silence is a filter. Silence is a shield. Silence is a training ground. It teaches you to stop living as a reaction. It teaches you to save your breath for what is worthy. It teaches you to let the unnecessary fall away without making a speech. At first, it may feel lonely, but loneliness in the right direction is better than company that keeps you weak. Silence will not make your life empty. Silence will make your life honest. It will remove the noise, so you can finally hear what your discipline has been trying to tell you. Because silence alone is not the destination. Silence is the doorway, and beyond that doorway, your attention must be guarded by discipline. And beyond that doorway, your attention must be guarded by discipline. Because silence without discipline can become only another hiding place. You may stop speaking, but still remain distracted inside. You may step away from noise, but still carry the noise in your mind. You may close the door to the world, but if you do not train what lives behind that door, confusion will still rule the room. This is why attention must be treated as sacred. Your attention is not a small thing. Your attention is the direction of your life. Wherever it goes, your energy follows. Wherever your energy follows, your habits begin to form. Wherever your habits form, your character begins to harden. And wherever your character hardens, your destiny begins to take shape. If your attention lives in the opinions of others, your life becomes their property. If your attention lives in comparison, your peace becomes a prisoner. If your attention lives in old pain, your future keeps bowing before what has already passed. If your attention lives in distraction, your potential becomes scattered into pieces too small to build with. But when your attention returns to your breath, your body, your work, your choices, your training, and your purpose, something inside you begins to gather itself. The scattered parts return. The mind becomes less divided. The body receives command again. The day begins to have a spine. This is what discipline does. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is protection. It is the fence around the garden of your attention. Without it, anything can enter. A mood can enter and waste your morning. A memory can enter and steal your focus. A notification can enter and break your rhythm. A careless word from someone else can enter and decide the quality of your whole day. But when discipline stands at the gate, not everything receives permission. Discipline asks, does this serve the life I am building? Discipline asks, does this strengthen my mind or weaken it? Discipline asks, is this action leading me toward freedom or back into slavery? A disciplined person is not someone who never feels temptation. A disciplined person is someone who has stopped obeying every temptation. They still feel the pull of comfort, but they do not kneel to it. They still feel the urge to react, but they do not become its servant. They still feel tired, bored, lonely, angry, uncertain, but they do not let every feeling become a command. This is inner strength, not the absence of feeling, but the mastery of direction while feeling is present. Many people lose their life one unguarded moment at a time. They do not fall all at once. They fall by checking the phone when they promise to focus. They fall by feeding the same thought they promised to release. They fall by returning to the same person, the same habit, the same place, the same excuse after they already knew it was weakening them. Then they look at their life and wonder why nothing has changed. Nothing has changed because attention has not been trained. Nothing has changed because discipline has not been allowed to become the guardian. You do not need a louder dream. You need a stronger gate. You do not need another promise made in emotion. You need a system that still stands when emotion disappears. Motivation may visit you, but discipline must live with you. Motivation may light the fire, but discipline must protect it from the wind. Every morning, the world will come for your attention. It will come through your screen. It will come through your memories. It will come through urgency that is not truly important. It will come through people who want access to your reaction. If you do not decide what matters, the world will decide for you. If you do not guard your mind, something weaker will occupy it. So begin small, but begin seriously. Guard the first hour. Guard the first thought. Guard the first action. Guard the promise you make when no one is watching. One protected hour can change the direction of a day. One protected day can change the structure of a life. And when discipline guards your attention long enough, silence stops being empty. Silence becomes a workshop. Silence becomes a temple. Silence becomes the place where your old self loses power and your true self begins to stand. And when discipline guards your attention long enough, silence stops being empty. Silence becomes the place where truth begins to speak. This is the part many people try to avoid, because silence does not only protect your peace, it also reveals what has been hiding beneath your noise. When the phone is down, when the room is quiet, when there is no one to impress, no argument to win, no performance to maintain, you are left with yourself. And for many people, this is the most difficult meeting of their life. It is easier to blame the world than to sit with your own patterns. It is easier to call life unfair than to admit where you have been undisciplined. It is easier to say people stole your peace than to see how often you handed it to them. It is easier to say you are tired than to ask why you keep feeding the habits that exhaust you. But silence removes the escape routes. It places the truth in front of you and says, look, not with shame, not with cruelty, with honesty. And if you are brave enough to stay, this honesty becomes the beginning of freedom. You begin to see that the real battle is not only with people outside you. The real battle is with the untrained mind inside you. A mind that follows every feeling cannot build a stable life. A mind ruled by mood will betray the mission the moment the weather changes. One day it feels inspired. The next day it abandons the path. One day it speaks with fire. The next day it hides behind excuses. One day it wants transformation. The next day it protects comfort like a treasure. This is why the mind must be trained, not punished, not hated, trained. You do not become free by pretending anger is not there. You become free by seeing anger clearly and refusing to let it drive your hands, your tongue, your choices. You do not become strong by pretending fear is gone. You become strong by feeling fear and still walking in the direction of what is right. You do not become peaceful by never feeling loneliness. You become peaceful when loneliness arrives, and you do not run into the wrong company just to escape yourself. This is the training to feel without becoming the feeling, to think without obeying every thought, to remember without turning memory into a prison, to desire without selling your future for a moment of comfort. The untrained mind says, I feel it, so I must follow it. The trained mind says, I feel it, so I must observe it. There is a sacred distance between the feeling and the action. In that distance, your new life is built before you answer, breathe, before you accuse, examine, before you quit, rest, before you chase, ask what fear is speaking. Before you post, ask what hunger wants to be seen. Before you return to the old habit, ask whether you are choosing healing or repeating injury. This small space may look simple, but it is the doorway to mastery. Most people ruin years of progress because they cannot survive one moment of discomfort without reacting. They send the message, they raise the voice, they break the promise, they return to the person, they feed the addiction. They call it emotion, but often it is only poor training. A trained mind does not need the world to become calm before it practices peace. It practices peace while the world is still loud. It does not need perfect conditions before it chooses discipline. It chooses discipline while doubt, boredom, and resistance are still present. This is where you stop negotiating with weakness. This is where you stop treating every feeling like a law. This is where you become the one who watches the storm instead of becoming the storm. And as your mind becomes steadier, something powerful begins to happen. You no longer need to explain every wound. You no longer need to defend every silence. You no longer need to prove your heart to those who have chosen to misread it. Because the more you master your inner world, the less you need the outer world to validate your existence. Because the more you master your inner world, the less you need the outer world to validate your existence. This is where a deeper freedom begins. You stop living as if your life is a courtroom. You stop waking up with the need to defend your heart before people who have already chosen their version of you. You stop explaining your silence to those who only miss the access they once had to your reactions. You stop spending sacred energy trying to be understood by minds that are not committed to truth. There is a kind of exhaustion that comes from proving too much. You prove that you are good. You prove that you are serious. You prove that you have changed. You prove that your dream is real. You prove that your pain was valid. You prove that your intentions were clean. And while you are proving all of this, your strength is being spent in places where nothing grows. A tree does not prove that it is alive. It grows. A flame does not argue with darkness. It burns. A mountain does not ask permission to stand. It remains. You must learn from this. Your life becomes powerful when it no longer depends on constant explanation. Let people think what they think. Let them speak what they speak. Let them misunderstand what they are not disciplined enough to see clearly. Their confusion does not have to become your assignment. Their judgment does not have to become your prison. Their silence does not have to become your fear. You are not here to win every conversation. You are not here to correct every false image of you. You are not here to chase every person who walked away from the truth of who you are. Some people do not want clarity, they want control. Some people do not want understanding, they want access. Some people do not want your growth. They want the version of you that was easier to disturb. When you stop reacting, they may call you cold. When you stop explaining, they may call you proud. When you stop returning to the same old pattern, they may call you changed, as if change were a crime. Let them. A person who is healing cannot keep asking permission from the same environment that profited from their brokenness. But be careful, because even the desire to prove people wrong can become a chain. Many people call it ambition, but it is still bondage. They say they will show everyone. They say they will become successful, so the people who doubted them will regret it. But if your whole life is built as a reaction to someone else, they are still living at the center of you. If your discipline depends on their doubt, if your work depends on their rejection, if your fire depends on their disrespect, then they are still holding the match. This is not freedom. Freedom is when they are no longer the reason you move. You move because your future deserves a guardian. You move because your body deserves strength. You move because your mind deserves peace. You move because the child within you has waited long enough for an adult to arrive. You move because you are tired of betraying yourself in small ways and calling it survival. Revenge keeps your energy tied to the wound. Restraint brings your energy back to the person you are becoming. The strongest version of you will not be born from hatred. It will be born from discipline. It will be born from the moment you choose not to send the message, the moment you choose not to raise your voice, the moment you choose not to explain to someone who only wants to pull you back into noise, the moment you choose to walk away without making your pain a performance. This is not weakness. This is command. This is self-respect. This is the quiet victory of a person who no longer needs the last word because they have found a deeper authority within themselves. And when you stop proving, stop avenging, stop reacting, something begins to fall away. The wrong battles lose their taste. The wrong people lose their grip. The old version of you loses its voice. At first, this may feel lonely, but this loneliness is not emptiness. It is space being cleared. It is life making room for the hidden season where your real strength can be built. It is space being cleared. It is life making room for the hidden season where your real strength can be built. Do not be afraid when the noise begins to leave. Do not be afraid when the crowd becomes smaller. Do not be afraid when the old conversations no longer excite you. When the old places no longer feel like home. When the old version of you begins to feel like a stranger. This is not loss. This is separation. This is the moment life begins to remove what cannot walk with the person you are becoming. In the hidden season, many things will look quiet from the outside, but inside, a war is being won one small choice at a time. You may not receive applause. You may not receive understanding. You may not receive signs from everyone around you that you are doing the right thing, but the root grows in darkness before the flower is seen. The foundation is buried before the house is admired. The blade is placed in fire before it is trusted in battle. Do not insult the season that is shaping you simply because no one can see it yet. Some of the most important work of your life will happen in silence. In mornings when no one checks on you, in nights when no one comforts you, in hours when your only witness is your own conscience. This is where boundaries become sacred. A boundary is not hatred. A boundary is not arrogance. A boundary is not a punishment for others. A boundary is a line that protects the work being done inside you. It says, this place within me can no longer be entered by every mood, every demand, every memory, every person who only knows how to take. When you begin to set boundaries, people who benefited from your lack of them may become uncomfortable. They may call you distant because you no longer answer chaos immediately. They may call you cold because you no longer bleed in public. They may call you selfish because you finally stopped abandoning yourself to keep them comfortable. Let them speak. Their discomfort is not always proof that you are wrong. Sometimes it is proof that the old access has ended. Your silence will reveal who respects your growth and who only loved your availability. Your focus will reveal who supports your becoming and who preferred your confusion. Your peace will reveal who brings calm and who brings storms. This is why you do not need dramatic announcements. You do not need to explain every door you close. You do not need to make a speech every time your spirit outgrows a room. Simply stop participating in what weakens you. The wrong things will begin to fall away by themselves. But understand this: falling away can feel painful before it feels peaceful. Discipline can feel boring before it feels powerful. Solitude can feel lonely before it feels sacred. Growth can feel invisible before it becomes undeniable. This is why you must learn to respect small victories. The world celebrates loud breakthroughs, but a real life is rebuilt through quiet repetitions. The message you do not send, the argument you do not enter, the hour you protect, the promise you keep when no one would know if you broke it. The morning you rise before the old self can negotiate. The food you choose because your body deserves respect. The task you finish while your mood is asking for comfort. The breath you take before anger becomes your voice. These are not small things. These are bricks. Honor, they build a life that cannot be shaken easily. Many people wait for one great moment to change them. They wait for perfect motivation, perfect timing, perfect confidence, perfect conditions. But the hidden season teaches a harder truth. You become ready by practicing before you feel ready. You become strong by lifting what still feels heavy. You become calm by choosing peace while anger still has a voice. You become disciplined by keeping the promise after excitement has disappeared. This is how the old self loses authority. Not in one dramatic battle, but through repeated refusal. You refuse the old reaction. You refuse the old excuse. You refuse the old environment. You refuse to keep feeding what keeps you weak. And slowly, almost silently, your inner world begins to change its ruler. The scattered self steps down. The trained self begins to rise. And when these private victories are repeated long enough, you no longer simply have better habits. You begin to return to the throne within yourself. And when these private victories are repeated long enough, you no longer simply have better habits. You begin to return to the throne within yourself. There is a kingdom inside you, whether you have ruled it or abandoned it. Your thoughts are its messengers. Your habits are its workers. Your values are its laws. Your attention is its currency. Your body is its temple. Your breath is its gate. And if you do not sit on the throne, something else will. Fear will rule. Desire will rule. Old wounds will rule. The opinions of strangers will rule. The hunger to be seen will rule. The need to be right will rule. Then you will wonder why your life feels occupied, why your mind feels crowded, why your peace feels foreign, why your own body feels like a place you visit but do not truly inhabit. This is what happens when a person becomes a guest in their own inner world. They feel every emotion and obey it. They hear every thought and believe it. They remember every wound and worship it. They desire every comfort and sacrifice the future for it. But a person who returns to the throne does not live this way. They listen, but they do not obey everything. They feel, but they do not become every feeling. They remember, but they do not let memory become a prison. They desire, but they do not sell tomorrow for a small relief today. This is inner leadership. This is self-mastery. This is the silent authority that no crowd can give you and no crowd can take away. When you lead yourself from within, your outer life begins to change without begging the world to change first. Your decisions become cleaner. Your reactions become slower. Your standards become higher. Your words become fewer and heavier. Your time becomes protected. Your work becomes deeper. Your presence begins to carry weight. Not because you're trying to impress anyone,